Hey everybody, welcome to the Thursday Club. And today we are going to talk about tackling our fear. So I know you guys have been working on this throughout the month, and today I really kind of want to share some of my personal experiences, what has worked, what hasn't, and maybe give you some tips to kind of push you to really get moving on this. So one of the big things that I have learned is that when you have something you're afraid of, and usually, just so you know, any big goal that you have, you're going to be afraid of because it's something new, it's something scary, it's something that's going to push yourself outside your comfort zone. So I kind of like to align the two. Um, and some of the biggest fears are public speaking, right? So many people have a fear of that. I had this fear, like my big challenge when I started this was that I was going to start a YouTube channel. And I have zero problem getting up on a stage, grabbing a microphone and going. Yet I had this thing about creating a YouTube channel and recording my weekly emails because it's something I'd never done. I don't have the patience. Well, I choose not to have the patience to learn how to edit video. So I just ignored it. And then finally I put it out to the universe, like I'm doing it, and I just did. So lesson number one in the fear is identifying it, obviously, and being really clear on why you want to conquer it. And two is you have to just commit to it in a big way. So the way that I did it with my YouTube channel, I know that it seems like a silly fear for a lot of people, but it was real for me, is I literally put it out there on Facebook that this is what I was going to do, and I was committed. Another big fear that I overcame was actually running. So I was never an athlete in school. In fact, when I went to school in the 60s and 70s, we had gym class pretty much every single day. And I was sort of the nerdy, chubby kid. And the jocks were usually the team captains. And we would do calisthenics, but there was always some kind of a team thing during gym class. And so the two jocks would choose teams 99% of the time. I was the last one chosen. So I had in my head all these years that I was not an athlete. Fast forward to my early 40s, I was diagnosed with high blood pressure, and my doctor literally told me I was going to have a stroke and die if I didn't exercise. So I was like, I'm going to run. I'd never run before. And it was something that was a little scary to me, but I was determined not to go on any kind of medication. So if you've been following my emails along, you know that I'm determined to live to be 100, a healthy 100. So the way that I did this, I signed up for a road race. This is a girl who was the chubby little kid, never considered herself an athlete, never played any kind of sports. I mean, the only kind of athletic thing I ever did was skiing, and I surely wasn't an Olympian, but I signed up for a race, and the race was going to be on my 45th birthday. And that's how I went, big. So I did the same thing. So once I started running, I entered a bunch of races, but I had in my head that I would never run a marathon, that I didn't have the mental fortitude to do it. Well, first it was a half marathon, but then I did, a couple of those. I'm like, okay, I can do that. And I decided that I'm going to run a marathon because you know what? If you're a runner and you've entered some half marathons, the next logical step is to run a damn marathon. So I was like, okay, let me find an easy one. And everybody said the Disney marathons were easy. Plus, you get 7 hours to finish them. Like most people can power walk that. But when I started doing the research on the Disney marathon, I found this dopey challenge, which is the 48.6 miles in 4 races over 4 days. And I signed up for it. Now, the training for this was insane. It was a year long, but the way that I went big, I signed up for it. And then I posted it on social media, my little sign up form. I posted it and I said, I just did a thing. I signed up for this. I also emailed it out to my tribe. I just did a thing. And then I told everybody and their mother, and I chronicled my training throughout the whole year, the wins, the bads, and everything. So that's lesson number one. You got to go big, you got to commit, and you got to do it because that's how you're going to hold yourself accountable. Number two is you've got to understand that you want to fail, and you want to fail fast. So in anything that you do, you've just got to try, right? Like I didn't know how to run and train for a marathon, so I did a bunch of research and I found running plans, but I had to figure out what worked for me. I got injuries along the way because I wasn't doing what the hell I was supposed to be doing, right? I learned, I adjusted, and I moved on. So the learning how to fail and fail fast, you have to understand when you try anything new, you are going to fail. It's part of the learning process. You have to just get over it. You really do have to get over it. And that was a hard lesson for me to learn because I was kind of a perfectionist. So when I first started running years ago, I used to get so pissy if I didn't have a good run. Like if I had in my head, I'm going to run an 11-minute mile and I came in at 11:10, it would kind of like ruin my day, which was just so asinine. The fact that I was actually out there running was great. And it used to drive Dave crazy. So Dave would be like, you're doing it, just who cares what your time is? The fact that you're doing it, you're a runner. So it took me a while to kind of get over that. But learning that it's the journey that really matters in all of this. It's yes, the goal is there, the end game is important, but you have to just understand that every day that you go out and do something, those tiny little atomic habits. If you haven't read that book, I strongly encourage you to do so. So every little thing that you do adds up. And if you read my Thursday email this morning, I really talked about this. So it's the tiny little things that add up, the positive, but also the bad. So if every day you look in the mirror and you say you can't do something, then you're not going to. So can't is not in my vocabulary, or I don't have. So if I want some, say, you have a big goal and you start telling yourself you don't have enough money to do that, stop. Because now you're convincing yourself that you're never going to have the money to do what you want to do. Instead, shift that to say, okay, where can I find the money to do that? Have a side hustle. For me, I own my own company. I just need to go sell more stuff. Anytime I want to do something, I just go sell more stuff. That's what I do, right? So I never say to myself, I can't afford that, because it drives me crazy, because it's a limiting belief. So I took notes, so bear with me. So fail and fail fast. But the most important thing when you are facing fear is you have to have grit. You've got to be able to withstand the hard times, because it's not all going to be unicorns and fairy dust. It just isn't. So, kind of going back to my running, I'm telling you, running 25 miles by yourself sucks. I don't care. I mean, race day, you get energy and there's people pushing you along, and you have the end game of knowing you're going to get the medals and the cold beer. All at the Disney races, I never got the cold beer. So that was kind of a disappointment, but that's always kind of the good thing. It's the after party. And I want them, I'm competitive. I want the medals. So, but when you're out there and you're doing the training, that hard work, that gritty work, the reward at the end is sore legs and maybe a hot bath. And, sometimes I would grab a burger and a beer. But, that's the hard stuff. That's where you have to show up every single day. And you will have roadblocks. So recently, the past 6 months, I've been dealing with a lot of health issues. I had to have knee surgery, which means I can't run. I'm going back to the gym now. And thank God where I am, there's a private gym and there's only 6 people in there at a time. So it's nice. But yesterday I got on the treadmill and I was like, I'm just going to run 2 miles. I would run 3 minutes and I would have to stop because either I was winded or my knee was sore. And you have to build back up. But I'm not considering that a bad thing. I'm like, okay, the day before I could only run 2.5 minutes before stopping. Tomorrow it'll be 4. The day after, next week it'll be 5. And it'll add up. So those little habits. But if I left the gym yesterday going, oh, that was a shitty run, then my grit is gone. So you have to have grit. Now, here are some other things that really tie into this whole success, because if you're trying to overcome fear, ultimately you're trying to be successful at something, right? I talk a lot about your diet. And I know this is kind of a sidebar, but it's really important. I've done so much research on this, and it's been such an important part of my success. When you eat right, and you don't eat really crappy food for breakfast, like, donuts and bagels and eggs and bacon. I mean, I'm a plant-based eater and I'm not here to judge if you're not. That's cool. I'm just sharing with you what I do. When I don't eat those heavy, crappy foods and a lot of sugar, my brain is far clearer. It just is. So, when you fuel your body with food that matters, it's kind of like you wouldn't put sludge in your car and expect it to go run at peak performance. That's just not how that shit works, right? So if you really want to set yourself up for success and overcoming this, fuel your body. Next thing, you need to fuel your mind. And I'm not talking about personal development. although that's incredibly important. I'm talking about clearing your mind. Now I'm going to have a coughing fit. Clearing your mind, like with meditation. I'm going to pause for a second and just get my water. Hold on. Sorry about that. This is really about clearing your mind with meditation. So every single morning, I do not jump and get out of bed. Again, a kind of another thing that drives Dave crazy because he could just get up and go. I ease into my day, and it's really important that I give myself like an hour or 2 hours. And sometimes that means I get up and I get my coffee, I'll read, but oftentimes I just lay there in bed and I think. I'm just quiet to myself and I think about my day, what I need to do, what I'm grateful for, happy thoughts. Like I literally say, okay, Cindy, if I start getting stressed and overwhelmed, I go to my happy place. And that happy place is different for everybody, but this is another part of, sometimes if I'm really stressed, I just need to go outside and go for a walk. Nature is very calming for me. Some people it's just being in a dark room. Some people it's taking a nap. Some people it's reading a book. Whatever it is for you. I don't do well with the Headspace apps and stuff like that that do guided meditations. That's not me. But for some people, it works really well. But nourishing your body, nourishing your mind. If you really want to be successful, you have to have clarity up here, right? Because otherwise, you just get overwhelmed. Um, the other part is really, outside of nourishing your body with good food, you have to exercise. The exercise part of it just gets the endorphins going. And again, it clears your mind. So even if it's 30 minutes of walking, I do often do these challenges where I do a 5K a day of 5K of walking or running or whatever. And I got out of that habit when I got the knee surgery. And I'm telling you, I went through like 3 months of just funk because I missed that me time. Because often when I'm out exercising and running, that is also my meditative time. It's a time that I can just think to myself. I talk to myself. Often I'll record videos, or if I've got a thought going on, I'll actually take out my phone and record my thoughts and I'll use them in my Thursday emails or Monday emails. So those are the big things, right? If you really want to persevere through the hard times and really reach a goal, then you have to have grit. And the only way to have grit is to nurture your mind, body, and soul. You have to. So keeping like the positive attitude. I mean, I always say find the sunshine, right? And you've heard me say this a million times. You can't control what happens in your life, but you can 100% control how you react. I am a very impatient person. I have tried to flip the switch on that and say that I do have patience, and I force myself to be patient in situations that I know I need to be. But like last week, my $5,000 computer, I was updating the operating system and it just crashed. I like computers drive me nuts, which is funny because I use them 12 hours a day in my companies. But like, I hate trying to figure out that stuff. Like, I hate to do it. Dave's a software engineer. And although like he hates that I pass the buck to him, I do that. And Jen is really good with it. Those are the two people in my life that deal with it. But this was something that they couldn't, I had to have patience in order, to let it just work itself out. I had to Google it. I literally had to go leave and go for a run. I had just signed up for the Peloton app and I was like, I'm just gonna go run for 30 minutes. I came back, I was much calmer, and I was and Dave texted me while I was out and said my computer was going. So those you need to understand those coping mechanisms, and that's what allows you to get through the hard times, right? So I encourage you as you kind of work through this, whatever that fear is, again, usually aligned with a goal, right? Because that's what's going to give you the push to get there. You need to understand if you haven't done the 7 levels deep exercise, if you are new to the Thursday Club, I encourage you to do that. It's in the resources in the back office. That's going to give you your deep why. It's really what's going to push you. And that can really change over time depending like the why of who you are, your moral compass and all that, that never changes. But a why for a specific thing, like, why do I want to have a side hustle? Is it because you want to pay off debt? Do you want to buy a beach house? Whatever it is, like you need to understand what that is because that's going to push you. So, whatever the fear is that you're working on this month, make sure you really understand why you want to overcome it. And that why has to be so strong that you will find the grit, that you're going to put in the time to take care of your mind, body, and soul, that you're going to be willing to go big, and that you're going to be willing to stick to those tiny little habits every day that are going to get you there. So that's my story. I would love your feedback on kind of how you're tackling these things. And again, if you don't read my Monday and Thursday emails, I encourage you to do so. I also, they're videotaped now and they're on YouTube. I haven't gone back to, archive all of, I mean, that's going to take me, I have thousands of emails. So I might go back and choose some to record them, but it's YouTube and my username is Cindy Donaldson. So I'm pretty easy to find. They're nothing fancy. It's just like this. I'm sitting here in my RV talking and reading my emails. So have a great day. Give me some feedback as to how you're doing. You can always email me at cindy@redbarnconsultingllc.com. Leave some stuff in the forum inside the Thursday Club, or just give me a call. I'm happy to kind of hash these things out with you. Have an awesome day. Bye.